Phillips. Today we are back in the garage working on the Countach restoration project. Last night I got started on it. I didn't film it though, but this whole rear fender here on the passenger side has been sanded down and primed, so that's good. What's on the agenda for today is I want to go ahead and, on the inside of the doors, you have the leather pieces that are the kind of part of the moldings that come up on the inside. They need to be removed since that all needs to be sanded and painted as well. So we're going to get all that prepped and primed. These side skirts down low also need to be prepped and primed. And then the front fenders around the hood. And then just the side pillars that come up on the sides of the windshield, they need to be done as well. That'll take care of the whole car. And then it can now sit until springtime for the final paint. So let's go ahead and get started. Show you. And then as far as this door hinge, the gas strut mount, all that needs to be removed. But this here, this leather here, the leather up here, that all needs to be taken out. I may redo it as one piece. The original Countach, it was all one piece that went up the whole thing, so I don't know. We'll see what we're going to do. So let me get this off and get started. All right, so the molding has been removed down here, and then this one's been pulled away. Went ahead and moved the metal bracket that goes here. That's all been taken off. So I think I'm ready, because I need to remask it now properly. There's a lot of cleanup that has to be done, a lot of adhesive and just residue from the weather stripping that was on here. So got to get all that cleaned up, got to get the car's front tires removed so I can remove the hinge. And I think we're ready to start prepping it. You can see all the residue there. All caked up on the inside and the outside of that lip. That all has to be cleaned off. Coming up here, you can see it all in there. I got to scrape all that junk off there so we get a nice smooth surface to work with. I'm going to try to take the liner out without having to remove the wheel if possible. So I've turned the wheel all the way to give me some access, because once I get this liner out, then I can get inside this fender to remove the scissor door hinge. So let's see if I'm able to do it. All right, I think I got it. Let's see if we can pull it down. It seems to, well, hold on. It's bent back here. A piece of metal on the body is bent over it. I gotta pry that off. I'll be right back. How this happened, I have no clue. How that could have been bent. But I gotta pry that back in order to free the liner. The liner's kind of pinned under here. Went ahead and banged that back and bent it back as best as I could. So let's see if we can get the liner out now. I can bend it past that point. All right. Done. Now this is interesting. There's part of the frame of the vehicle behind that liner, and if you've been watching these progress videos of this restoration, you will know that I mentioned when I first got it, this vehicle was infested with rodents. We had about 8 rodent nests, or 9 I believe, that had to be removed from this vehicle. A lot of them were underneath the car. Right down here you have the underneath panel that goes under the car that the frame is within. Well, that's where a lot were removed by it. This is the first time that I'm removing these liners around the front tires, and you can see there's remnants of a rodent nest here. So I got to clean all that off, sterilize that real well before we even go any further. Anytime you're dealing with rodent nests, you got to be extremely careful. There's a lot of disease and bacteria. To be honest, I should be using gloves, but I forgot to bring them. So I don't have gloves with me today, so we'll just have to wash up. But I got to get all the remnants off, and then what I usually like to do is then I spray the area down with bleach and water to kill anything that's left behind. This is disgusting. There's all the debris that was removed. That's a lot more than I thought. So now everything's been cleared off, going back in there. So I'm going to go ahead and spray it down with bleach. Get it real good. Looking down the side of the car, over here you have, this is the molding, the ground molding, and then this is the frame of the vehicle coming here. You can see it's all been sprayed down. All the framing has been sprayed, going all up, all the supports, all that. So let it dry and then we'll be back. Well, aside from that little setback with the rodent activity that we had to clean up, I was able to get to the inside of the scissor door hinges without having to remove the actual tire itself. Just had to remove just that liner and got to the bolts. So get this off. There we go. And this is good because on the driver's side, I need to actually tighten some of the pins here on the hinge, because as it opens up like that with the scissor door, the one on the other side, one of the pins is a little bit loose and the door isn't fully stable as it goes up, so I'm going to tighten that. So now that we have all this off, I'm going to go ahead and prep everything so we can start sanding, and we'll be right back. All of the weather stripping has been removed. Had a little bit of a hard time right around there where the door hinge was. That piece right there, I'm leaving that as is because you have this black side and then it's black leather that goes here and then wraps around, so that's all going to be covered. So now I think we're ready to start sanding it. Okay, everything has been masked off really good. Pretty much following the exact line going around the little strip of carpet, leaving everything exposed that needs to be painted. I wanted to do that before I started sanding, that way we prevent a lot of dust and debris from falling into the car, even though I am going to have to detail it afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and start sanding it so we can prime this whole side of the vehicle. Alright, well, I'm working on the side skirt now. The rest of the vehicle has been sanded as far as the fender and around the door frame. So once this side skirt is done, I'm going to go ahead and wipe it down real good, let it dry. We'll go ahead and prime this whole side of the vehicle and move on to the other side. A little more damage down here than I thought. As I'm stripping away the paint and I'm actually feeling through everything, I'm starting to notice it. I was able to patch a piece up here on this ledge right here. There was pretty bad damage here to the fiberglass corner of it that I built up with resin. I'll go ahead and show you that. Here's the piece here. This whole piece here was cracked and just damaged, so I had to go ahead and remove that whole section. Nice and smooth down and level. Filled it with some resin, so it's nice and solid. Once we go ahead and prime it and paint it, it'll be nice and smooth. Just finished priming the rest of the passenger side, the front fender up there, and all around the door, side skirts and everything. You can see it there. This whole side now is done, as well as the back and the roof. So, a couple flaws that surfaced as a result. We'll get a close-up of that for you. You can see right in there, need to sand that a little bit better. A little bit came through there, so we need to touch up that. And then also right here on this piece of the molding right here, A little bit of an indentation there. You can kind of see the outline where the clear coat had been sanded down a little bit, and then a little chip up there, so I need to touch up those spots. Then also on the front fender, you can see here, right up there, a little bit of some flaws there, and a little bit down here along the bottom. So got to touch those up, and that'll be once we go over the whole car. I'm going to go and actually touch up a lot of it, because as we noticed also in the back with the far rear and then the fenders, some minor flaws there too. So once the car is done, we're going to go over everything and then just kind of hit all these spots and get it all cleaned up. All right, so this side is done. As we just looked at, there's a couple flaws that need to be addressed. We'll cover them at a later time. So I'm going to move on to the other side, and I think we're going to call it quits for this time in the garage. I wanted to get the hood area done and the very front. That's not going to happen because of the setbacks we had on this side with the cleaning of the remnants of the rodent nest. And then had to focus a little more time on that front fender on this side, the one that had the fire damage that had been corrected before. So that took a little more time. Other side should go quicker, but it is getting late. So we're going to go ahead and light sand down that fender and then clean the side skirt, get that done, so we can then prime that and wrap it up, and then the next time in the garage, we'll take care of the hood area and the front. There's some modifications that need to happen. I'll show you that before we wrap up. So let's head over to the other side and get started. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish taking off the leather molding that goes here on the inside of the door. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Then I'm going to go ahead and remove the wheel well liner in the front, remove the hinge and the gas strut mount, and we'll be right back so we can start sanding. And hopefully I don't run into any more mouse activity in this one, which I don't think I will, but let's see what happens when we get it off. Well, unfortunately I wasn't as lucky as I was hoping. There was a little bit of some nesting in here as well, and you can kind of see it. It's all saturated with bleach, just sterilizing everything. And not as bad as the other side, just some fragments tucked up in the corner of the frame. I guess left over from when I cleared it out a couple years ago, some pieces, because I had never actually gone up into these wheel wells into the frame like this. So got all that out of there, and I'm telling you, the mice were having a field day on this car, because this car had been sitting out in the field. It's already low. You had weeds coming up this high on it, so they were just coming right around that wheel well. Once you get in there and get into the frame, then you can then come onto the sides of the dash on each side, access inside the car, and just a mess. But when I'm done with this whole project, I'm going to post a lot of photos, because I wasn't filming at the time, but I have a lot of photos of it in the condition it was when I got it and just the mess that I've been dealing with. So either way, this is done. I'm going to take the brackets off, then we'll start sanding. Good morning and welcome to day 2. We're wrapping up now. Ended late last night, went ahead and sanded the side skirt and the driver's side fender down real good. They're all ready to go. So what we're going to do now, because I also vacuumed it, got all the dust and stuff off of it as well. I'm going to go ahead and wipe it down, make sure there's no debris or dust on it, let it dry, then we'll be back to prime it, and then that'll wrap up this time in the garage for this weekend. So let me go ahead and get that ready so we can start priming it. Had some kind of a reaction down here in this side skirt right here. This was all sanded,
However, it looked like at one point there was some kind of a coating or something put in there. So there was a little bit of a reaction. I'll get a close-up of it for you. But it looks like the primer didn't adhere to it properly. So next time in the garage, I'm going to go ahead and sand that down even more, maybe take it all the way down to the actual fiberglass just to clear anything out of there and then recoat it. But other than that, everything else looks really good.
And here you can see it. It looks actually terrible right here. So it goes pretty much the whole way down. You've got that issue. So as I just mentioned, we're going to go ahead and sand that all down. Take care of all that, and then of course you've got stuff like this, little imperfections and flaws that have surfaced as a result, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to prime it with this coat anyway, just to accentuate any flaws, because with the deep burgundy paint, a lot of it wasn't showing. So now we can see all the areas that need attention.
All right, well that pretty much wraps up this whole side of the vehicle. That's all that I can get done, however, at this point during our time here in the garage. The front end is going to require a little more work. I got to do a little bit of cutting and prepping on there. Let me head around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now before I even sand this front end down, you have these vents here. These vents are incorrect, however. They're not wide enough. So what I'm going to have to do is cut probably about 1.5 inches to 2 inches more in this direction here on both sides, because they need to be closer to the fog lights. If you see on the original Countach, you've only got maybe about 1 inch of a gap between the fog light and the vent. So we're going to widen that. The other thing that has to take place is here on the fog lights, and I'll get a close-up of it for you.
And you can see right there, when I cut these out to widen them for the fog lights, it's still all unfinished. So I need to go ahead and sand all around here, finish that. And then there needs to be a sidewall put on both sides, which is kind of on an angle, because the fog lights are not flush up against it where they're angled down on the real Countach. They're actually straight. So since this front piece is angled down, it has to be a little bit of an angled wall right there on each side. So I need to put that in, fill that, just finish this up nicely in addition to the vents like we just talked about. And that'll take care of this bumper area.
All right, and then also what I need to do is I need to remove the weather stripping. We need to remove the windshield wiper, pull all that down, and then the washer sprayers, and then this hinge, I'm sorry, not the hinge, but this latch right here for the actual hood that needs to be removed because all that has to be painted. And then I just need to finish better where I cut out for the headlights, because that was just a raw cut, but I need to shape it, smooth that real good, pop these lights out and clean all that up, and then we're ready to do it. So this is a project in itself, so we'll do that next time. Okay, well that pretty much takes care of this episode here in the garage working on the Countach project. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please send me any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all of the support out there, so please like this video, subscribe to my channel as I'm constantly posting new content, and I'll see you next time.